Hey everybody, so it's me, and so I know I turned 18 back in December 9th, and you know, I'm just still getting the hold of the fact that I am now an adult. I've been an adult since December, but it really hasn't really sinking in until now, because I've had jobs and I've had to do adult things, like I'm dating male now, so I was just thinking about all of the things I used to do as a kid, and so I thought I would share them with you and see if any of y'all were as weird as I was when I was a kid, because I was a very unique type of child. So yeah, here are some things I did as a kid, and I still do some of these things, not all of these things, but as a kid I did all of these things. The first thing I did as a kid was I stayed inside. I still do this. I love staying indoors. That's why I'm so pale. Like if I go outside, I burn. I went outside yesterday and my legs are burnt. I just always wanted to stay indoors. I never wanted to leave. If I went in the backyard, I stay in the shade. I hate going outside. And plus there's bugs outside. Like, I would be the one to get stung by a bee. I think I have been stung by a bee before, and I'll tell that story a different day. But yeah, as a kid, I always stayed indoors. I stayed in my room a lot as a kid. The second thing I did as a kid was I kept quiet. I never said a word. Now, I don't do this much anymore. I'm pretty talkative now. But as a kid, I wouldn't say anything at all. Like, I would get bullied and I wouldn't say anything. I would go home and cry about it later. That was how I coped as a kid, I guess. Because I just didn't feel the need to say anything, because if I had tried to say something, people would just laugh at me and just be like, why are you talking? And like, that usually happened in school and with my older brother, because he teased me a lot as a kid, and he still teases me sometimes, but not as bad, you know, we're grown. But I just always kept quiet. I didn't want to say anything. My voice was very, very soft. I was a very soft-spoken child. I'm still really soft-spoken. I'm still learning how to talk to people. I'm working on my communication skills, but I totally kept quiet. And as a kid, I just I didn't want to say anything at all. I also really stuttered really bad. Like, I stuttered so bad, it's not even funny. So I just thought it'd be best for everybody if I just didn't say anything and left it at that. The third thing I did as a kid was, okay, so this only lasted for like a year or so. I was in second grade, and I was very, very confused at the fact that I could see everybody else's faces except my own. Like, I didn't understand why I needed a mirror in order to see like my face. I didn't get it. Like, it was so weird. Like, I would just stare at people and wonder how they could see their own faces. I thought they could see their face. And this girl looked at me and she was like, why are you staring at me? And I'm like, how can you see your face? And she's like, with a mirror? And I was like, what? And so she's like, just shut up. And so I went home, and a lot of people always, like I said, I was bullied so much as a kid. I'll do that video one day. But I would go home and I sat in front of the stove and I was just looking at myself. I just looked at the reflection from the stove to see why everybody had called me ugly. It didn't take long to figure that out, obviously, because I was an ugly kid. But I just didn't understand. I would sit there, like, if I was being babysitted by me and my, like, I would have a babysitter, and it would be my older brother and me, because my sisters weren't born yet. Like, they were born later on in the year. And so I was the easiest kid to babysit at that time. I was easy to babysit anyway, because I was very, like, quiet and, like, stay in my room a lot. But I just sat in front of the stove. Like, I remember vaguely, like, me sitting in front of the stove and my babysitter just chasing my older brother around the house, and I just didn't move. I just sat there and was just like, and like, I would just like move around, like, you know how like in the movies when like twins see each other in like the mirror or something and they do this thing, like I would do that, and like I would do this and like all these weird things, and just sit in front of the stove as a kid. I don't do that anymore, but you know. Okay, this I don't do anymore, but from the time I was like an infant to about, I'm gonna be brutally honest here, till about the time I was like 12 or 13, I played with Barbies. I was in love with Barbies. I would come up with, like, I named all of them and they all had that name, unless for some reason I wanted to change their name for a different day. They all had one name, like each of them, and their names didn't change, their home life didn't change. Like, I was very creative as a kid. And I had a friend 2 doors down. She was like 2 or 3 years older than me, 4 years older than me, something like that. And she would come over and she would play Barbies with me because she was nice and she was still around my age but a little older. So we would just sit there and play Barbies, and I just love playing Barbies like I used to. But then my sisters were born, and then so I had to learn how to share my Barbies, but I was still really young. I didn't want to share my Barbies. Those were my Barbies. And then, you know, I grew out of them and I gave them to my sister, and now I don't even know if she still plays with her Barbie. She just asked for a Monster High doll for her birthday that's in 2 days or something. But yeah, I played with Barbies as a kid, and I'm not sure how many girls did that, but I certainly did. I was definitely not a tomboy growing up. I was definitely a girly girl. Now, I'm pretty sure everybody knows who Jenna Marbles is, right? Okay, so when she made the Embarrassing Stories Part 2, she mentioned the water buffalo game or whatever, like how she would just how she was just playing alone. I would do that. If like my friend couldn't come play Barbies with me and I want to play Barbies for myself that day, I would go in the backyard and I'd make up some game. Or like, I remember it was during the summer and I was like 8 or something, I don't know, and Pirates of the Caribbean, like the first one, like, y'all remember that part where Elizabeth and what's his name, Commodore, he's like trying to propose to her and she's like, I can't breathe because the dress is too tight, and she like falls into the water. We had like this water slide, like this inflatable water slide thing, and I would pretend that I was Elizabeth and I would just fall down the slide into like the little pool part of the water, and like I would just say the lines of that scene, and like it was so funny. And I pretend Jack Sparrow rescued me, like, you know, like how he did in the movie, and like it was so funny. I always came up with these really weird games, and I would just be talking to like my Build-A-Bear, like when I got my Build-A-Bear when I was 8. Like, if you've seen the video My Children, like I would pretend that I was her mother, that like I was getting ready for school, and I'd be like, okay, I'll be back soon, sweetie, you know, don't do anything wrong, and blah blah blah, you know, because motherly instinct as a kid, I don't know. But my brother was like, who are you talking to? And I was like, I'm talking to my daughter, what are you doing? And it was so funny. And I just kind of, now I don't do that, I just kind of act out my scenes that I write in my books and figure out how I want to continue on if I'm on like a writer's block. But that's pretty much the only time I ever do like imaginary games. So I mentioned earlier I wanted to stay indoors all the time. On occasion I would go to the park, because we used to live across the street from a park. Like, literally you open the door and you see the park. It's really just like 5 steps to the park. And so when I was little, I couldn't go to the park by myself, so either my friend from 2 doors down or my brother had to come with me. So a lot of time I was at the park with my older friend over there, and so I would go to the park on occasion, and I would like, my favorite thing was the swings and the slide. Those were my favorite things. I had tried monkey bars, but I'm afraid of heights, so I didn't do those anymore because I got stuck one day. It was not fun. I was like, I don't want to let go, I'm gonna fall, I'm gonna die. But I would go to the park on occasion, and like there was a pool right there by the park, so if it was during the summer, sometimes as a family we'd go to like the pool. But I didn't know how to swim well. I still don't know how to swim well. Like, I can swim, just not well. I still do this. I was a major bookworm. I was the biggest bookworm you'd ever met as a kid. I always had a book in my face. This was how I lived as a kid. I just always had a book in my face. And like, I remember there was like I didn't get into trouble a lot as a kid, but one time I did get into trouble. It was a misunderstanding anyways. It wasn't really my fault, but you know, whatever. So I got grounded for 2 weeks and I sat in my room and I read like this Abraham book or whatever, like the biblical Abraham or whatever. Like I just read that like 5 times or like a million times. Like it was really funny. I always wanted to read. I always had a book with me. Like if we were in the car and it was like a long drive, like if we wanted to go to Mississippi because my dad's sister lives in Mississippi, like I'd just be reading the whole time. And they're just like, what are you reading? I'm like, oh, I'm reading this or I'm reading that. Like always was reading something. I love to read. I always still read. I don't read as much as I did as a kid, but I read like on Wattpad. I write now. I do more things now, but back then it was just reading and singing, and I'm about to get to the singing part right now. So like I just said, I sang a lot. Like I know I still sing. Like I'll put up some song videos sometimes, and I talk about how much I love to sing, and that's in my hobbies and now all my profiles and stuff. But I seriously, because it's back to Jenna Marbles, how like where she was talking about the Disney movies, how you thought you were supposed to sing everything that was happening. I totally did that. I totally just sang everything that would be happening. I would sing all the Disney princess songs. If it was the High School Musical sing-along, I sang all of Gabriella's songs. And like it was seriously a problem. And I watched American Idol too, so I would like, if I knew the song, like if it was like a country version of American Idol and like they sang a song I knew, like Kelly Pickler sang Suds in a Bucket one time, and I was like, she left the suds in the bucket and the clothes hanging out on the line, and my family was like, shut up, we're listening to her sing, not you. And I was usually just my brother, but my mom would tell me like, Tori, be quiet. I'm like, okay. And so yeah, I just sang all the time. That was just like a 24/7 thing. But like I said, I got older and I have more hobbies now. I still sing a lot, but yeah, I sang too much as a kid. There you go. Those are the things I did as a kid. I did pretty much, I guess that's pretty much it as a kid. I can't think of any more right now, but if I do, I'll probably make a part 2 in the future. If you found anything in this video you thought was interesting, you wanted me to elaborate on more, please let me know and tell me what other videos you'd like to see from me. And I will see y'all next week. I post every Tuesday/Wednesday type of thing. I realize that I'm not going to post any videos on Monday because I'm too tired on Mondays because I have church on Sunday. So yeah, expect a video from me every Tuesday/Wednesday, and I love y'all so much, and